why do I have friends but still feel lonely? There are times in our lives we can be surrounded by people yet still feel lonely, separated, different, or even misunderstood. And it's been my entire life's work to help erase something I call mental isolation. It's where we feel alone in our minds, that somehow we're diminished, flawed, or excluded. And loneliness is such a heavy thing right now. And I'm going to tell you the research at the end of the video, but really, let's just use this first couple minutes to get to know each other. Let me get to know you. What do you wish people understood about your life right now? So many people feel lonely, and I want you to know that you are not alone. I'm going to talk about 5 things you can do to help understand this a little better. If you don't have a close, trusted friend versus like the big amount of acquaintances, we're talking about quality over quantity for just a second. If you don't have that close, trusted person that you can connect with, sometimes it's really easy to feel unfulfilled, right? And then we start doing that look side to side thing in our lives where we're looking around at everyone else's lives, wondering why they have it all together and they're connected, and we feel so different. It's very difficult. Hey, I'm so glad you clicked this video. My name is Karen Eddington. It's nice to meet you. You can say hi in the comments. I would love to get to know you more. Let's talk about 5 things that can help you understand friendship just a little bit better. But more than that, I am an identity researcher. I've been studying pressures for about 20 years, finding some really interesting things I'm going to tell you at the end, just so that I can connect over you first. But I also want you to understand that I have also been through some things. I moved a lot growing up. I went to about 3 or 4 different middle schools. I went to high school in both Louisiana and Wyoming, and I know what it's like to walk into a room and feel alone. I know what it's like to not have anyone to sit by at lunch. I know what it's like to have your whole life feel like it's being reset over and over. So I want to extend that compassion to you, that it's a tough and difficult place to be if you feel like you need a friend. So first off, like, I'm sending you some love and some compassion. I just hope you feel a sense of support as we connect together. Now, the first question I want to ask you is, do you feel like you have quality relationships over quantity? If you're saying, look, I've got people around me, but I still feel lonely, who are those people? Can you ask yourself that? And then how can you find more quality people in your life? There are times we need to set realistic expectations for our friends and for the people around us. Sometimes we have really high expectations for people. Let me give it to you straight. Our friends, we can look at them like our support networks, not our personal therapist, not the person that's supposed to solve all our problems, not the person that we constantly vent and dump to and give so much information that it just overwhelms them. There are times we have really high expectations for a good friend in our life. Can we change our expectations just a little bit to have better relationships? For example, sometimes we think that our friends should be our problem solvers and our personal therapists, and they need to be someone that we can vent, dump information to. And sometimes that feels really invasive to people. Rather, I think the solution is to look at our friends like a support network. It's support that goes both ways. The key to good friendships is to find people who share the same values as you. That helps us to connect a little bit better. Now, I want you to answer this question honestly. Do you have a wall up? I do. I know I do. So you're not alone if you're saying yes here. But there are times we flat out project that we don't trust people, and so we don't let people in. I told you I moved a lot growing up. To this day, sometimes I still have problems letting people in because I have a deep down fear that we're just going to leave each other, or it's just been the pattern of my life. Like, we just connect for a little bit and then we leave each other. Do you realize that every single person on this planet has issues and stories that they're trying to work through themselves of why and how they make friendships the way they do? So be really patient and gentle with people, because we're not the only person. I mean, if we look around, Like I said at the earlier, like sometimes we look around and compare our lives to others and we think they have it all together, that they're feeling connected. But most people, especially right now, especially through 2020 and 2021, isolation is a big deal for so many people. We need to be sharing our grace and understanding with people. And yes, it's okay to have those boundaries, but in places, sometimes it's our own fault when we feel left out because we have that wall up. How can you better change all of that hurt you're projecting out there onto other people so that you can get to that quality friendship and relationship? I think number 4 is the most important conversation. How is the relationship that you have with yourself? There are times in life we can be alone and be at peace and be content. I think sometimes we bring friendships to us when we are solid as an individual. Now, this is a whole nother topic, and I have more videos on this. So yeah, look down below. I'm gonna put a playlist down there, and you can hit subscribe while you're there, because I share great tips all the time. It's my life's work to help you not feel alone. How can you better find peace with yourself? And tip number 5 is to pull back from social media. There are times we find our connections through online clicks. Can you take a break from some of those social interactions and make an invitation? Who in your life right now can you extend one invitation to connect simply? I started doing research right out of college on how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. I started doing research with high school students. So it was an open-ended survey with 572 students, asking them their biggest pressures they face in life and their top solutions to get through. Now, they had a whole series. I read through the heart and soul of these students, some of the things that they are expressing, some of the same things that you were probably expressing as well. Some of the loneliness, the peer pressure, the isolation, the body image struggles, but the top pressure was actually the pressure to be somebody. This pressure we put on each other to achieve and to do and to be something, and figuring that all out. Now, the top solution these students had for getting through all of their pressure was to have a support network. Isn't that awesome? To know that a support network can help us through so many of our pressures. And I know that's why you're here. You're saying, look, there are people around me, but I don't feel connected to anyone. And I hear you, and you are not alone, because let me talk about this further. This research project, I continued to study it for another 7 years, tracking patterns. Like, you don't sit and look at the heart and soul of students without continuing to look for the patterns. Now, I figured something out. I learned that pressure had one thing in common. All of these struggles that everyone was communicating with me, they had one thing in common, and it was this. One of the most universal and dangerous experiences we can all have is something called mental isolation. This means that we feel alone in our mind and our hearts, that somehow we are diminished, flawed, or excluded. And this is a very dangerous place to be. So we need to do everything we can to help people get out of this place of mental isolation. And it starts with you. Can you work on yourself just a little bit? Can you see what you need in your life? What can you do that you actually have control over and you can take action on to get yourself out of mental isolation? Sometimes people don't know you need help, and we need to hear you ask for it, and which is so hard. It's so hard to ask for help, but ask for the help that you need. Look, I have so many more tips and ideas. You can continue to click another video, and we're going to continue to talk some things out, but feel free to hit that subscribe button and look for more tips and guides right here at the Under Pressure Project. And I'm cheering you on. I'm sending you support.